We threw the biggest birthday party for our 5-year-old daughter. Clowns, cartoon characters, the whole deal. Laughter filled the air and life felt perfect. But just weeks later, I caught my wife cheating with the clown who performed at our daughter's party. What happened next changed my life forever. Welcome to Infidelity Truths. Before we dive into today's gripping story, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more thrilling stories just for you. Let's begin. My wife and I had been married for 7 years. Life felt full. Our bond was strong, and with our 5-year-old daughter, Alara, we felt complete. Up until recently, everything was great. But what I am about to share is a story of betrayal so surreal, it still feels like a bad dream. It all started on Alara's 5th birthday. We wanted to make it unforgettable. Pull out all the stops. She's our only child, and we just wanted her to be overwhelmed with joy. Living in a spacious house with a big backyard made it easy to host a proper celebration. So we hired an entertainment crew through an agency, costumed cartoon characters, a clown, and a team of performers to keep the kids laughing and dancing. The day was magical. We invited family, friends, and even neighbors. The performers were top-notch, and Alara, she was beaming, glowing with excitement. Seeing her that happy made every effort worth it. With so many people around, my wife, Zara, and I barely had a moment to sit. We spent the entire time mingling and making sure everything ran smoothly. I handled the logistics when the entertainers arrived. They came early, already in makeup, but not yet in costume. During the actual party, though, Zara interacted with them more than I did, helping them with drinks, food, and setup. Once the party ended and life resumed, things felt normal again. We were back to work, back to routine, but 2 weeks later, everything changed. One morning, I was rushing to work and accidentally grabbed the wrong folder, one that didn't have the urgent documents I needed. Realizing my mistake hours later, I had no choice but to drive back home and retrieve the correct files. Zara's car was parked outside, which wasn't surprising. She usually left for work after lunch. But the house felt unusually still. Quiet, no greetings, no footsteps, nothing. I walked in, heading straight for the table near the sofa where I usually left my things. As I was shuffling through my papers, I noticed Zara slowly coming down the stairs. "Did something happen?" she asked, her voice tight and uneven. "I just forgot my documents," I replied, barely looking up. But something about her felt off. Her tone was stiff, her posture defensive. "What's going on, Zara?" I asked, locking eyes with her. "Nothing, really," she said, flashing a nervous smile. The tension in the room was thick. I felt it in my gut, but I ignored it. I had to get back to work. I grabbed the right folder and turned toward the door. "All right, I'm off. See you tonight," I called. And then I froze. There, sitting on the couch, was a leather satchel, a man's bag, one I didn't recognize. Confused, I picked it up and turned to face Zara. She didn't say a word. Her face had gone pale. That was all the confirmation I needed. Without saying anything, I bolted up the stairs. My heart was pounding. I burst into our bedroom, empty. But when I yanked open the closet door, there he was, half-dressed, shocked, frozen. I stared at him, my mind reeling, and then it hit me. "You're the clown from Alara's birthday," I said, voice trembling. And it really was him. The man who had entertained my daughter, who had danced and joked for the kids, was standing in my bedroom, half-dressed, hiding in my closet. I lost it. I didn't even want to hear his excuses. I threw him out, literally. But the real confrontation was with Zara. Later that night, she admitted everything. She had taken his business card during the party. She said something about his confidence, his charm. She reached out. They met. One thing led to another. I couldn't believe it. I still can't. She betrayed our marriage, our family, our daughter, over a moment of weakness with a man in clown makeup. I couldn't forgive her. We divorced not long after. How do you rebuild something that's been shattered so completely? To this day, it still feels unreal. My wife, the woman I loved, the mother of my child, chose to throw it all away with a man she met at our daughter's birthday party. If nothing else, let this be a reminder. Sometimes betrayal comes from the last place you'd expect. I wish I could say I stayed calm, that I processed things logically, but the truth is, after I threw that clown, yes, the actual clown, out of my house, I sat on the floor of our bedroom, stunned. For a long while, I didn't move. I couldn't. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding in my ears. Everything I thought I knew had just been turned upside down. When I finally came back downstairs, Zara was still standing in the same spot, eyes wide like a child who just got caught sneaking cookies. Why? I asked, not angrily, just broken. She didn't answer right away, just stared at the floor. Finally, she mumbled, I don't know. I wasn't thinking. But that wasn't good enough. Not for me, not for our daughter, not for our 7 years of marriage. So I pressed her. And slowly, the full truth came out. Zara had felt seen by him during the party. Said he complimented her when I was too busy organizing. Said he made her laugh, something she claimed she hadn't done in a while. That tiny bit of attention, that crack in our life was all it took. She took his business card. She called him a week later. They met twice before he ever set foot in our home again. And the third time, well, that was the day I came back for my documents. I was sick. Not just because she cheated, but because it happened right under my nose. During the party we threw for our daughter, in the house we built together, with the same man who painted his face and danced in front of our child. But the part that hurt most, Zara didn't seem remorseful. She looked guilty, but not sorry. Not truly. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't stay in the same bed, same house. I slept in the guest room. My mind was a battlefield of emotions, rage, sadness, confusion. But one thing was clear. I couldn't pretend things would ever be the same. The next few days were a blur. I stayed away a lot, spent long hours at work or at my brother's place. Zara tried to talk. She begged me not to tell Alara anything, said it would destroy her. I agreed, but only for now. Alara was too young to understand the full weight of what had happened. All she knew was that Daddy was away a lot more. I didn't know what to do. Part of me still loved her. We had a child together. Memories, years, a life. But how do you rebuild trust when it's been burned to ash? One evening, a week after it all exploded, I sat alone in my car outside the house, staring at the porch light. My phone buzzed. A message from Zara. Please come in. Let's talk. I'll do anything. I walked in. She was waiting in the living room. No makeup, puffy eyes, a mess. She handed me her phone. Said I could go through everything. Messages, calls, photos. She was desperate to prove she'd ended things. And she had. The last message to the clown simply read, "Don't ever contact me again. You've ruined everything." But even knowing that didn't fix what was already broken. We sat in silence. Eventually, I told her I was filing for divorce. Her face crumbled. She begged, cried, said we could try counseling. But I'd made my decision. She didn't fight it. Maybe deep down she knew I was right. The next morning, I packed a few bags and moved out for good. Ilara was confused at first. We told her Daddy had a new place and that she'd still see me all the time. I made sure of that. My little girl didn't deserve to suffer because of her mother's mistake. As for Zara, I don't know what she's doing now. We only speak when it involves Alara, and that's all I need. It still hurts. But I'm healing, day by day. Sometimes betrayal doesn't come from an enemy. It comes from the one you trusted most. And in my case, it wore clown makeup. It had been 3 months since the divorce. I was slowly getting used to my new life, living alone, co-parenting Alara, and rebuilding myself from the ashes of betrayal. I'd started therapy, not because someone suggested it, but because I needed a place to pour out the rage, the sadness, and the confusion I couldn't express anywhere else. Ilara was adjusting too, though I could tell she missed the feeling of a whole home. We split custody fairly, and I made every moment with her count. I wanted to be her rock, her constant, even if her world had been shaken. Then, out of nowhere, the past came knocking. Again. It was a Saturday afternoon. Ilara and I had just finished baking cookies, our little weekend tradition. She was watching cartoons while I cleaned up the kitchen when my phone buzzed. It was a message from a number I didn't recognize. "We need to talk. Please, it's urgent. It's about Zara. And me. Julian. Julian. The clown." I stared at the message for a long time, stunned that he had the audacity to contact me. At first, I wanted to delete it, block the number, pretend it never happened. But something about the message, it felt different. Desperate. I responded with one word. "Why?" He replied immediately. "Because I think you deserve to know what really happened, and what she kept from you." I agreed to meet, not out of curiosity, but closure. We met at a small coffee shop on the edge of town. Julian was already there, out of clown gear, of course. He looked tired, older than I remembered. Guilty. "I know I'm the last person you ever wanted to see," he started. "You got that right," I said. He nodded. "But I'm not here to justify what happened. I messed up. I never should have gone near her, but she lied to both of us." I raised an eyebrow. "Lied how?" "She told me you were separated," he said quietly. "Said you were living in the guest room, that the marriage was over and you just hadn't made it official. She made me think I was stepping into something that was already broken." That hit me hard. I remembered the week before the party, Zara and I had argued a few times, but we were nowhere near separating, at least not in my eyes. Julian looked down. "I found out the truth the day you came home. That's why I was hiding. I panicked. I realized she had lied to me. And to you?" I didn't know what to believe. I didn't want to believe anything that came from this man. But then he said something that shook me even more. "She didn't tell you, did she, about the pregnancy?" My heart dropped. "What are you talking about?" I said, my voice suddenly hoarse. "She found out the week after you filed for divorce. She told me she wasn't sure whose it was. That's when I cut ties completely. I couldn't deal with that kind of chaos, but I thought you should know." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I left that coffee shop in a daze, my thoughts spinning. Zara. Pregnant? I hadn't heard a word about it. I debated whether to confront her or wait. Part of me didn't want to know the truth, but the other part, the father in me, had to. That night, after Ilara was asleep, I called Zara. She answered with a cautious tone. "Is everything okay? Are you pregnant?" There was a long silence, then a soft, "Yes." She tried to explain. Said she didn't tell me because she wasn't sure and she didn't want to complicate things. She had considered termination but changed her mind. Now she was nearly 3 months along. I asked the only question I could manage. "Is it mine?" She hesitated. "I don't know," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." After Zara admitted she was pregnant and unsure of who the father was, I was torn between two instincts. Protect myself or protect what could still be my child. I chose both. The next week was a blur of emotions, but I kept things calm. I told Zara we needed to do a DNA test the moment it was safe. She agreed. Maybe out of guilt, maybe because she was hoping the baby was mine. I didn't know, but what I did know was that Ilara deserved the truth. And so did I. 3 weeks later, the test was done. And then came the longest wait of my life. When the results came in, I drove over to Zara's place. I sat in my car for a good 10 minutes before stepping out. My hands trembled as I held the envelope. She met me at the door. No makeup, no smugness, just a woman bracing for the impact of her own choices. I handed her the envelope. "I think you should open it." She did. Her hands were shaking worse than mine. She read the results slowly. Her eyes scanned the page. Then she looked up. "It's not yours." Those 3 words hit like a punch to the chest. I nodded slowly. Strangely, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt empty, like the last string connecting us had finally snapped. "You'll always be Ilara's mother," I said quietly. "But whatever this was, it's over for good." I walked away from that house feeling like I'd finally closed a chapter that had nearly destroyed me. Fast forward a year. Life looks different now. I found peace and simplicity. Alara and I have a rhythm. We laugh, we play, we talk. She's growing stronger every day, and so am I. Zara gave birth to a baby boy. I heard she named him Mateo. I've never met him, and I don't plan to. She and Julian tried to make things work, but from what I've heard, it didn't last. I don't feel bitter anymore, just wiser. People say betrayal changes you, and it's true, but it doesn't have to break you. It taught me to love myself more, to protect my peace, and to never ignore red flags, no matter how small. Zara was a part of my story, but she's no longer part of my future. As for me, I'm focusing on what truly matters now, being the best dad I can be to Alara. And maybe someday, opening my heart again when it feels right. But this time, I'll see the signs. I'll ask the hard questions. And I'll never settle for less than someone who values loyalty the way I do. Moral lesson of this story. Trust is the foundation of any relationship. And once it's broken, it's hard, sometimes impossible to rebuild. This story reminds us that betrayal doesn't just destroy love, it fractures families, scars children, and shatters peace. But even in the aftermath of deep pain, healing is possible. Choose honesty, value loyalty, and when someone shows you who they truly are, believe them. In the end, your peace is more valuable than any temporary feeling of love. Thank you for following this journey. If this story resonated with you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon for more powerful real-life stories. You are not alone, and you are stronger than you think. See you in the next one. Bye.